All right, fashion dolls, and we're back. We're back. Jason's sound must have went out, so we're gonna start this interview over again. I hope you guys are doing wonderful today. It is Motivation Monday, December 27th, and baby, I'm living for this glow, this skin, this hair, everything. Oh, it's just been such a crazy weekend, but I hope you guys are all doing well. We're gonna get this interview started once I get Jason back in. Also, we have Leon Walker, and we also have Adam Dash, as well as Demetrius Key likes. So make sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys also go and subscribe to my brother K2. Um, Jason is driving, so we're going to get him back in here. In the meantime, between time, in case you guys missed it, we have Barry Brewer from Tyler Perry's Bruh coming to the show, and that will be Wednesday. So make sure you guys tune in for that. And from the show Harlem, we also have Jonathan Burke. He's going to be here Thursday on the 30th, so make sure you guys tune in for that along with Linwood. So we've got some great shows for you guys this week leading up to season 16. And the look of Style by Stevie is totally going to change, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Shout outs to my makeup artist, Melanie Nalama Bridges, for getting me right for this afternoon's glam. Jason is back. Let's add him back, ladies and gentlemen. Right, yes, the sound must have went out. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me, Stevie?
Yes, perfect.
There we go. How you
All
guys
right,
doing?
ladies and gentlemen, let me get my buds. There we are. There we are. 100% better. And we're back with the one and only Mr. Jason Olive and it's Man Crush Monday. So, of course, I had to bring my favorite Man Crush Monday on the show. And y'all know why. We'll talk about Calvin Klein in a little bit. But let's get to know Jason before we get into this interview. So, you were born in Los Angeles, California.
That's right.
All right, okay. And you studied drama under the incomparable Jane Fonda. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, that was, for me, that was a transformational uh, opportunity for me. I was a young kid, and she had a camp, a summer camp up in Santa Barbara, which was on a ranch that she owned. And really the camp was about social awareness, and we'd have incredible guests come up each summer. One time we had Cesar Chavez's family up there, and then she was married to Tom. Tom Hayden, wasn't it? Yeah, Tom Hayden. I always want to say Pat or Tom. I get confused, but for those of you who've seen the movie Chicago, Chicago 7. Sorry, some of this stuff I could be confused on. It might be Chicago 8. I think it grew at one point, actually. But in that film, he's one of the main characters, right? And so, I would grow up on summers, talking with him, and I can even remember my high school science project. His office helped me out doing it, and trying to see if water was safe to drink and things like that. But so it was really about getting kids socially conscious, and then you had to do something physical in the morning. So you had to either do this crazy obstacle course where you had to swim this small lake that was freezing every morning, or you had to do Jane Fonda's workout, because remember, she was like the first one to get into the back in the day, what was it called? Jazzercise. Then it became aerobics, right?
Yes.
And that whole thing. So you had to either go do Jane Fonda workout with Jane Fonda or swim that lake. And I'm going to tell you, there was many mornings we'd rather swim that lake because she was no joke. And then you had arts, right? And I gravitated towards theater. Honestly, not even really understanding what a wonderful opportunity it was at the time. when you're a kid, you don't necessarily equate getting to work with Jane Fonda as an actor necessarily with really the weight of it or what it means. But later, many years later, I was working with Joe Montana on a film, and we were in the middle of this scene, and he stops and he goes, "Where did you learn how to act?" And I go, "Well, are you talking about the beginning?" And he goes, "Yeah." And so I told him, and he says, "Oh my God, we used to teach you guys." Because evidently the counselors, especially ones dealing with theater, she got them from the Steppenwolf Theater, which Joe was a part of. So it's something that was transformational for me. Something that's come up here and there, as I kind of continued on my career.
Okay, so you also attended the Steppenwolf Theater and the
No, not
University.
me, not myself. That was that was the counselors. That was Joe's. That was just the story. Joe Montana, he was part of the Steppenwolf Theater, one of the most famous
Okay,
members, obviously.
and the University of Hawaii at Manoa for sports and literature scholarship. And we see you have a very, 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 very big passion for sports. I was looking at some of your sport highlight reels from back in the day. So where did the passion and love for sports came from? And what was it like attending the University of Hawaii?
Yeah, I was always into all kinds of sports. It was a four-sport letterman in high school, and actually, I started life mostly as a soccer player, um, which, of course, at that time, the U.S. was not that great at soccer. And I always tell the story. I own a club now. I own a girls' youth volleyball club, Los Angeles Volleyball Club. We launched that about four years ago. We have about 80, 90 kids training with us now. And I always tell them, say, you never know the sport you're going to end up with. And you learn something, you take something from every sport you try. So I really encourage kids always to do a lot of different sports, not just specialize in one. But I started out as a soccer player, and then I think I was about 15, 16 years old, and I was playing for a traveling team that was internationally. And our coaches thought we were really good because we went and played Malaysia and China, and we did well. We won some games. Went to Australia, won games there. So they decided that we would go to Spain and play against Real Madrid on their home field. And I quickly realized that we were playing a sport called soccer, and they were playing a sport called football. And those are two totally different sports, right? So after that experience, I didn't give it up in practice, but in my heart, I gave up being a soccer player because I was like, the United States in my lifetime will never be this good, which has proven true. So I went to find something that, I could play in my hometown and hopefully become one of the best at it. And oddly enough, basketball, of course, Los Angeles was always around. Mom didn't want me to play in football in an odd way. But my stepfather had played for the Lakers in the 60s. And because of his distaste of how he was treated and kind of how the game treated him, this was back when, he couldn't, if they went to play, let's say they were going and playing in San Antonio, the black players could not stay in the same hotel. They'd have to go and stay in the black part of town and somehow find their way to the game, right? And then, take care of themselves, play the game, ride different buses, all this kind of stuff. It was a nightmare. And so he actually, more than anyone, discouraged me from playing the sport. Even though I liked it a fair amount, but I just, it never went that way for me. So I said, well, volleyball is something that I enjoy. No one knows anything about. No one can tell me anything about it, and that's perfect. And I started playing, and very quickly, while I was still in high school, qualified for some professional events, and then got some attention and got a full scholarship to Hawaii. I ended up dropping that scholarship for a literature scholarship because, um, when you're on sports scholarship, you have to be at every practice. You're being paid to be there. And what had happened was my fashion career took off. And so, it was either not go and do the fashion or give up my volleyball scholarship. This was because we had a coaching change and he wasn't too fond of that. But the university, they didn't like that idea of me leaving, and I was going to transfer to Stanford, and they didn't like that idea. So they gave me a proposition like, hey, you know, um, what if you were to take a literature scholarship, which they didn't offer at the time, right? And we allow you to keep playing, we allow you to keep doing your work. We think it's great for the university. And at the time, and I always tell kids, this is something my father always taught me, was whatever you're doing, do your best at it, right? Because it will open doors. It will give you options. And because I had a 4.0 and because I was doing other stuff, launched the Black Student Union for the first time at the university. And, I was doing things at a kind of like, I don't know, prolific level or a level that was gaining attention both academically and sports wise. And then the fashion thing had jumped off so quickly around the world. It made me valuable basically to the university. And so it's very interesting, Stevie, because now for the first time, sorry, I got my boxer puppy here. But now for the first time, amateur athletes can make money and still be in college. You have guys that just this year have made over $1 million their freshman, sophomore year in college. And that's something that we were fighting for back then. But a lot of people don't know that I was really the first athlete to fight that battle and win that battle. And because of that, the truth is that since then, which was that was about 93, it has been legal in a sense for a athlete to make money on their name, image, likeness, what you would legally term right to likeness. But you just had to know how to do it, and no one really knew what the rules were and how to do it. So it was kind of like a guarded secret in a sense. But there was precedence because I fought that with the NCAA, and I won that fight. Actually, just 2 years ago, defended the right to likeness for everybody in America against a multinational corporation, and won that lawsuit, 7-figure lawsuit. We won to defend everyone in America's right to determine how their likeness is used in relation to products. We sued GNC. GNC had illegally used my likeness to sell products that later were accused of being full of amphetamines. And we won that lawsuit. Of course, I wanted to have nothing to do with that company once I learned what was going on, and they didn't want to release me. Right? They wanted to keep using my face to make money, and we found out how much money they were making, which was a lot. And we sued them. And 7-year lawsuit and won. And so now everybody, it's another precedent that was set in terms of actors and athletes and whoever it might be. Honestly, you don't have to be a celebrity, right, to now be able to control who uses your name, image, and likeness when. So it's something in life that has kind of come to me, and fought these battles, and happy to have fought them, and so far it's been successful.
Absolutely. And to say that when it comes to them using black models, black actors, content creators, faces on their products for the likeness, and not even considering to pay the model, that's such a big problem. So I'm glad I never knew that story until you opened up. But that's just how the industry is when it comes to Black content creators. And that's why we have to continue to keep fighting to push more to let them know, like, we're not going to be taken advantage of. You're not going to take advantage of us, or this is what we're representing. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, even it does get even a little deeper than that, from the sense that you might get paid for something, but no one can pay someone, or at least can't pay me enough to be the face of illicit products. That's a different story. So, and it depends where you live. It depends where you live. Los Angeles, because so much of our economy is based on celebrity, right? There's a lot of laws that protect a person's right to their likeness, and there's been many people who have fought for this. But you're right, when you look at a lot of these lawsuits, because this was my life, right, for 7 years fighting this thing. There are a lot of black people. Michael Jordan is one that's had to fight it a lot. There's a lot, particularly once you get into singers, songwriters, and whatnot, who have had to fight these battles over the year, or their estates. Right? There's a lot going on with Prince right now, and obviously a lot of that is wrapped up around who controls his image. Right? Who gets paid when you put a picture of Prince on something? Right? Um, yeah. So it's really interesting how we can look from the outside and look at fashion and look at advertising in one way, and then there's kind of the underbelly of it, right? The business of it.
I made that face at Jason for a reason, because Prince is one of my favorite singers. And one thing he was genius about was owning the masters to his music. And when I'm interviewing artists, singers, songwriters that come on this platform, because I've had so many. I had Vanessa Williams on the show. I had 112 on the show. I had Kanye Doss. I've had so many singers and songwriters come in, and they were just talking about, being a black content creator, being a black artist out here, and owning your masters to your music. And I think it was T-Boz from TLC. And we're just recently seeing what Ashanti is having to go through, with having to re-record her album and everything. Taylor Swift even had to do it. But we know how the music industry is for black artists out here. They're having to work twice times as hard. And one thing that Prince was genius at is he has a catalog of music that nobody, I think, really has access to. And I think the last story that I read, he was supposed to be releasing an album in next month, 2022. I'm not sure what month in particularly, but he has an album coming out. And Aaliyah is another one as well too. They've had to fight for her estate. Like, it's a lot that goes into it when it comes to managing these artists, these musical artists out here, and owning the rights to your music, because somebody can come along and say, oh, well, oh, this is my song. But it's okay. But you have to give credit and say, okay, I used this song as a sample. Make sure you give the artist credit. So I agree
Yeah.
100%.
Give me a minute here. I'm gonna switch over and get going here. Hold on.
And shout outs to my co-host Marco. Make sure you guys please go and check out our powerful interview on this Hear Me Out podcast. It was an amazing interview and conversation. Make sure you guys go and check it out. And he will be with me on Wednesdays. So make sure you guys tune in for that as well too. We have a new look for Style by Stevie Daytime. So you guys will see the new look unveiling on our page pretty soon. So make sure you guys go tap the link in the bio. Stay tuned because it could drop any moment.
Yeah.
While we're waiting on Jason, we're gonna switch over a
Oh, can
little bit.
you guys can see me? Stevie, are you still here or no?
Yes, I can hear you and I can
Oh,
see
okay,
you.
okay, yeah, I'm
Yep,
good.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
All right,
But
he spoke. Go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Yes, I was saying you spoke about your illustrious, glamorous fashion career, and I was ready to dive right into that because I am a fashion girl. And I dug in the archives. I was flipping through the pages of Essence magazine, and this is from February 1997. As you guys can see, Nia Long and Lorenz Tate on the cover. This is when they was promoting Love Jones. And on the first page, look who I spotted.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So you've had such an illustrious career in the fashion industry, working for some of my favorite luxury fashion houses, Calvin
Uh-huh.
Klein being one of them, Armani, and the late great Gianni Versace.
Yeah.
So tell us, what was it like for you, doing these shows and these ad campaigns for these
Yeah.
big fashion houses? What was it like for you? What was that experience like?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And actually, I worked with Giorgio and Gianni directly. Um, you know, for me, I was always really into art. Um, and so this all started, like I said, probably like my junior year in college, and there was a big clearing process that I had to go through, and as I mentioned, fight that fight with the NCAA. It probably took me about 6 months just to do that.
Wow.
And I really didn't know what the world of fashion was about, but there's a lot of fate in this, right? There's a lot of just fate. And uh, the guy that had started me was well, the guy that found me was a guy named Chris Brenner, and I was listening to music. As a matter of fact, it might have been at Prince's club. He had a club in L.A. For a while. That was kind of towards downtown, and I think that it might have been that club. They'd have great live music, and at the time, I had a bunch of friends who were musicians, and we'd go listen to them and whatnot. They were really pretty good guys that would play with. You guys might not have heard these groups, but like Fishbone, and there was a really good group in LA called Grandpa Knucklehead. It's some really cool music at the time. Anyway, so there, and this girl came up to me. Her name was Judy Gillette, and Judy was a really big time model, mixed black girl like myself, uh, just gorgeous. I had never seen a model in my life in person. I was not, even though I was born and raised in LA, my family was not involved in the entertainment industry whatsoever. I had never even really considered what a model was. You see the billboards and you see the ads in magazines, but I never really I never gave it literally a second thought, right? Um, but Judy, I did give a second thought to. She was like the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen in my life. And she comes up and she's like, "Hey, you should be a model," and just kind of walks away. My friend is standing there, and he's like, "Oh my God, who is that?" I go, "I don't know, dude. This is just crazy." And then this guy came up to me. His name was Chris Brenner, and to this day, Chris Brenner um, is Mila Jovovich's best friend. I mean, they're family, right? They're family, and he's also managed her and worked with her entire career. I don't know this at the moment. I don't know this guy from anything. And he says, you know, you should really, listen to Judy. Why don't you give me a call? And at the time, I don't, all I know is this gay guy is handing me his card, right? And I'm like, okay. And I never had any issues. My uncle was gay and all that. It's not, so nothing to say that, but back then you didn't have much exposure, right? I didn't have that much exposure to this world, to the world of, you know, gay fashion and art and just people in general. It was just not part of my world going, in college in 1992 or whatever it was. So I'm like, well, I don't know about this guy, but if this card gets me closer to that girl, I'm calling. And that's what happened. And he goes, look, come into the agency. And I go into this agency, and it was like just like a movie, right? Everything stops. Like people are working, the sound of the office going, and I walk in and everything goes silent. And this guy jumps up from behind a desk and goes, "Hi, I'm Rick Ferrari. Chris told me you were coming. Will you go to the shows in Paris?" And I said, "Well, hold on. What shows? You told me if I came here, Judy would be here." And he goes, "You don't know what the shows are?" I go, "I have no idea. I have no idea what you guys are talking about." And they had all these pictures on the walls of, oh God, Naomi, Kate Moss, who else? Who else was there? Think, Elle. I remember Jenny Shimizu, who I think she was in the industry for a minute. She was, I think, dating Madonna at the time or something. She was in the video, and that was the rumor or whatever. Anyway, but Stevie, I'm telling you, I was so naive that I was like, yeah, well, I have cut out pictures of people on my wall in my dorm room too. Like, it didn't even strike me that for some time later, like 10 minutes into this conversation, and Rick's like, "Well, you can see who we represent." I'm like, "Oh, wait, you represent all these people?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh my God, you know?" So is this luck of Chris. I mean, you can be discovered, but to be discovered by these people, right? And with Chris and Rick, and it was a guy named Jeffrey Dash was the businessman behind the agency, and it was called Prima. And I'm trying to remember right now. Okay, so I'm remembering there was a magazine. I don't know if you remember Detour magazine.
Yes.
Okay, right. It was big for a while, and it wasn't like Out magazine. It wasn't like saying, "Hey, we're 100% dedicated to the LGBT community." Sorry if I'm missing letters. Q, I think I'm missing. But it was one of the first steps towards that, right? Towards it was kind of leading to the coming of these other magazines. You good? And that was housed within the agency as well, that magazine. And so this was really pretty much the highest profile magazine agency in Los Angeles. Definitely one of them, right? And it was an independent, right? It wasn't Ford, it wasn't Elite. And so it had these very powerful agents who were plugged in and who were hungry. And basically they were on a mission, and they go, "Look, we believe that male supermodels is going to be a thing, and we think that you're going to be one of the first ones." I say, "Okay, well, I can't even do this. It's not legal for me to do this." "Well, what are you talking about?" "Well, I'm on scholarship. I'm on a sports scholarship." "What's that?" Right? That was the disconnect between the world I was living in and the world these people were living in. Okay? So together we had to learn about each other's world and how are we going to make this work? And we all just dived in and we fought all the fights that had to be fought. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in my athletic director's office, and she goes, "Look, I don't know how you've done this, but the NCAA has agreed to grant you the right to go and work." I go, "Wow, that's great." And I get up to leave, and she goes, "No, hold on." And she clicks the phone. Unbeknownst to me, the phone was on hold the whole time, right? And hands me the phone, and it's Rick, and he goes, "Listen, you're on the red eye to LA. I'll meet you in LA at 4 a.m. You get in, and you're headed to New York. You're shooting Banana Republic with Bruce Weber." To which I said, "Who is Bruce Weber?" And he goes, "Never mind. I'll meet you at the airport. Have your dad meet us at the airport, and I'll bring a book." So I go, "Okay." I go home, tell my girlfriend at the time, I go, "Listen, I'm going to New York right now. And I get on the plane, meet him and my dad in LAX, and he's got Bruce Weber's book. This thing is 4 inches thick. And we're flipping through this book, and I loved photography. I was taking fine art photography class. I had always loved images and imagery, and I'm just going, wow, man, this is beautiful. This is incredible. And I leave from there. My dad's like, yeah. Well, his only question was, how much are they paying him? And Rick goes, well, the upfront is $5,000 a day, and then we'll figure out the usage depending on what the usage would be. I had never shot anything before in my life. They sent him some photos my girlfriend had taken, and this was film back in the day, right? Had to go get it processed.
Oh, yeah.
Hope they come out. It's just like a little click and shoot camera. And we sent them, and they were like, yeah, I'll put them on a plane. Let's shoot them for Banana Republic. That was the first job. I never took a test photo. Never had a photo. Never had a professional photo taken before. I'm sitting at Industrio Studios, if you remember. Industrio Studios, which was created originally in Italy. I'll give a little history while I tell these long stories. So Industrio Studios was a form of studio, which today, it's just the way it's done, so people don't know how special it was. But back in the day in Milan, a guy named Fabrizio Ferri, right, and others had created the first super studios, where you would go in and everything was there. Your catering, your studios, your photo, lighting, grip equipment, everything was there. Great music, create this really creative atmosphere. You might have, anywhere between 4 and 10 different shooting bays, and the teams would just rotate through the bays, and you would never have to leave. And then so that concept got moved to New York, and the first one there, which was Industrio Studios down in the meatpacking district. And so I went there and met Bruce Weber, and the way Bruce shoots is Bruce gets, he'll have upwards of 20 models a day at a shoot, whether it's in a studio or outside. I mean, he shoots a lot of his stuff outside, or on location, let's say, right? This was in the studio, and he just everyone gets in the clothes, which at the time, this brilliant stylist who was behind it all, he was behind everything Bruce did, but especially the Banana Republic stuff, and especially the Ralph Lauren stuff, right? Which was his name was Joe McKenna, and Joe would get everybody styled, and then he would just kind of hang out, and he would see who was kind of gravitating towards one another, or yeah, I mean, Stevie, it's kind of interesting, very hard to describe, in the sense that you don't really see people working like this, but he would just see, like, hey, who's kind of hanging out? Oh, you guys are, having a little affinity for each other. You got 10 guys and 10 girls, 20 something years old, all beautiful, sitting there, inevitably conversations and relationships are going to be struck up pretty fast, right? So he might then take 3 guys, or he might take a guy and a girl, or he might, whatever it might be. And he would just like, hey, you guys come over here. Or, you know what? You guys don't move. Stay right there. And all the lighting and everything would be brought around the models, or maybe the models would be brought to a stage, or things like this. And you never know who Bruce would be attracted to. And, by lunchtime, I'm sitting there, this guy next to me. I wish I could remember his name, but I can't. And he was a little older. He was probably in his 30s. And again, the guys too, man, I had never seen male models before, you know, and I'm just sitting there, even as a straight guy, I'm sitting there going, dude, these guys are good looking. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, these guys are studs, you know. And the one guy, he goes to me, he says, so, so it looks like you're the new superstar. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, haven't you noticed how much Bruce is shooting you? And I really hadn't. I mean, because I didn't know what was normal, what wasn't normal, right? And he goes, yeah, you know, congratulations, it's going to be big for you. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so one of the things that happened was there was this girl from Israel, and what it was that the shape of my eyes and the shape of her eyes and kind of the rest of our faces were almost exactly the same, but we were just two different colors, right? And Bruce was fascinated with this. So he shot me and this girl for hours. Like, in other words, everybody else went home type thing, right? So I go back to school, and, you know, I'm only there for a few days. And this is probably like a month or 2 months later. And I get a call, and it's Rick. And he says, how is it that the first thing you ever shoot becomes the talk of the fashion world? I say, what do you mean? And he says, well, there was just a huge meeting, finance people and Bruce Weber's team. And they do not want to run the images that Bruce took of you with, I wish I could remember the young woman's name, but they don't want to run it because they are not going to run a multi-ethnic couple as their worldwide advertising. Yeah, I see you shaking your head. That's exactly how I felt. I was like, whoa. So this was just thrown in my face, right? The reality of race and commerce and advertising and what is beauty, what isn't beauty. On my very first job, this is just, all of it is just thrown in my face, right? And it hits me immediately. Like, oh, wow, this is about what is acceptable and what is beautiful. This is far beyond just selling some T-shirts that, by the way, they had ripped off from Paul Smith designs anyway, right? Because they had, no, I mean, yeah, let's be real. You know, I mean, this is Banana Republic. This isn't you know, this isn't Versace, right? And Banana Republic, as us old folks know, we all knew that. I mean, it used to be a rhino in the store, and it used to all be about importing stuff from Africa, or if it was an Irish sweater, it was imported from Ireland, and it was super cool. But now Gap had bought them, right? The conglomerate, which is Gap, I forget the name of it, and they had basically gone, we're going to do all away with that. Now we're going to design our own stuff, which they really didn't. Anybody could look and see that they had ripped off all of Paul Smith, that kind of slender mod kind of style. And we're going to mass produce it in China or wherever. And it's going to be all about the story, right? So that meant it was all about Bruce. Bruce was a kingmaker of global brands, right? The artistry of what he did, right? Abercrombie and Fitch came later, but at that time, you know, he was shooting Banana Republic, he was shooting Versace, he was shooting Polo, he was shooting, oh man, just so many top brands. He was it. And so Bruce says to them, he goes, look, I will reshoot this, but if you don't use my images this time around, I'll never shoot for you again. So it's kind of a curse of death, right? And so Rick says to me, he goes, look, the upside is you're going to go shoot this again. I go, oh, okay. And later, I can't remember how long it was. It might have been over that summer break. They fly me down to Florida, and now we're shooting on this enormous estate, and then we go shoot at the beach, same style, 20-something models, except this time, Stevie, it's a little more elevated. You know, the models at this one are, you know, Kate Moss is there. What is her, I'm going to remember this name. What was her name? I'll remember her name in a second. Lorraine Pascal. I don't know if you know that Lorraine. She became a big celebrity cook. She has a show. She has a
Yes.
cooking show. Yeah, Lorraine. And I'm gonna remember the other model there in a second. So he shoots me and Lorraine together, but then he also shoots me by myself a lot. And you know, to this day, I've never asked Bruce. I've always wanted to, and hopefully I'll get a chance to, you know, while we're all still here. But I always wanted to ask him if he purposely did this, because I went back to school, and that might have even have been a spring break, right? Because this is a very odd reality for me, right? I would leave this one environment of school and sports, and then go to this completely like creative, artistic environment with some of the greatest artists in the world in terms of photography and fashion, right? So it was a very duplicitous kind of life I had, reality I had. When the ad comes out, one of the images that runs is just, it's like a portrait of me from basically my shoulders up, just kind of leaning on the beach. I'm just like kind of leaning on my elbow. It's a very tight photo. And the only thing Banana Republic on the damn thing were the words Banana Republic. There's no clothes in the thing, right? So he went from like, okay, you're not going to run this. And this is what I mean. I've always wanted to ask him, to making me the face of this global brand. And I always wanted to ask him, was it a bit spiteful, or, you know, was it just, you know, was it what I have said to Bruce and what we have talked about is, you know, I did have an opportunity to thank him for elevating the concept of Black beauty, right? In which he used me to do that for the first time, definitely as, you know, male Black beauty, right? And putting it out there on such a enormous platform and making that statement. At the same time we were there, Stevie, he shoots this article for Interview magazine. Now so I'm out there to shoot Banana Republic, but then on the side of this, at the same time, they're going, Jason, not only are you going to do that, but Bruce Weber is going to do a story on the 5 guys he thinks are going to be the world's first male supermodels. So you're going to shoot that at the same time. So all this time, I was hanging with Bruce every single day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, for, I don't know, 10 days a week. And so I was able to have, you know, a kind of a different kind of friendship relationship with him, and conversations, and Bruce, he, you know, he has had a lot of legal issues, right? In the last, I don't know how long it's gone on, Stevie. Maybe it's like the last 10 years. And basically he's being sued for sexual abuse by guys, by men, right? Heterosexual men who feel that he took advantage of them as, I don't even know. It's such an odd thing to me, because you know, there's a lot of gray area in this, but basically that he was in a position of authority as the photographer and, let's say, the producer of these shoots, and that he used his position to put them in compromising sexual situations, right? Not something that I ever saw where I could agree with it, but I did see it where guys would be very uncomfortable in certain photo sittings. Because, I mean, you can look at Bruce's body of work, and this was funny with my dad. I told you he met me at the airport, right? And he's looking through this book, and everyone can see that this guy shoots homoerotica, right? To some extent. I mean, you would say to the same extent that the Romans and the Greeks employed it in their, particularly in their statue work, right? I mean, that's what Bruce Weber did. Bruce Weber took classic Greek sculpture and found the human bodies to kind of reconstitute it for a modern photograph. You could look at anything he's done, and it's plain as day. Herb Ritz, who a lot of people just feel really just kind of stole Bruce Weber's style, right? All of those guys. Who was their teacher? Hopefully, I'll remember in a second. Hopefully, I'll remember. But it was actually out of a photo school out here in California. Their mentor, right? In this kind of a black and white style. Hopefully, I'll remember the name. Anyway, so my dad, right? He's looking at this. My dad, born in 1929 Kentucky. My dad's black. My mom's white. Dad, born in 1929 Kentucky. Okay, my great grandfather was a slave in Kentucky, right? And our family goes back and back and back. And my dad is looking at this thing, and he's going, and I'm looking at his face, and he's going, oh shit. And I'm like, oh man, maybe he's not going to let me go. And he closes the book, and he goes, how much is he going to get paid? And Rick goes, well, it's about $5,000 a day or so. And he goes, oh yeah, he can do it. That was my dad, right? That was my dad. So, fast forward to this, I saw guys, Bruce would have guys where their lips were an inch apart from each other, right? Is there a homoerotic quality to it? Yes. Do the guys' noses and lips look almost exactly the same to where, I'm looking at it and going, wow, how did you even see that? That's like a puzzle piece right there, right? And, they wouldn't kiss, but they would get that close. And I saw a guy break down in tears in that situation, okay? And it was while we were shooting this interview story, okay? And so when I look at it, I see both ways, and I also see like, well, that shit just never bothered me, and I don't know, is it just, that I was raised in a very open household. I mean, look, my mom was family planning and LARF and ran Planned Parenthood, and she was a hospital administrator. I had gay uncles. We had gay family friends. I was, not unexposed, right? And so I never saw these things as anything negative. I just saw it as kind of like experience, even though, the sexual side of it had no interest for me, but I never looked at it as something that was a threat, right? And so these situations, I never for a moment saw it like that. And I also saw that, look, this industry is selling sex, right?
Yes.
It's selling gay sex, it's selling straight sex, it's selling everything in between, right? And if you don't want to be involved in it, don't be involved in it, right? Fine. But when you see people who are like, I want to be involved with it, but I want to be involved with it on my terms, there's no such thing, right? The industry has the terms, right? Buying and selling has the terms, right? If you want to be interested in it, to me was like, for me personally, It's like you're working with iconic artists. Can you make an iconic image? Can you be part of this process of creating an iconic image? And it's kind of like, excuse my language, but fuck whether it's homo or straight or anything in between. Like, what difference does that make? Look at the pantheon of art, right? Look at the Karma Sutra. Look at thousands and thousands and thousands of years of 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 human artistic endeavor, and you're gonna see it all, right? And so he runs this. He runs the ad with myself in Vogue. All right, they put it in Vogue, and then they run like another. They were running like 2 or 3 page spreads with me and Lorraine, which back then that was a little unheard of, right? To take 2 pages of a Condé Nast publication, whatever it might be, and dedicate it to ads, right? And so maybe, I mean, I don't know for sure, but maybe for the first time you had a black couple in that situation where you're opening up uh, a travel Condé Nast travel or a Vogue or a GQ or whoever it might be, and black people are taking up 2 pages of it, shot by Bruce Weber, which implies a definitive quality, right? And it just blew up. So my phone starts ringing nonstop, and mind you, there are no cell phones, right? I mean, I think I got a cell phone like maybe 6 months or a year later. It was $3 a minute. No one I knew had one. No one I knew had one, unless they were in the fashion industry, right? Um, so my home phone starts. Well, can you go here? Can you do this? Can you go to Italy? Can you go to Spain? Can you go to France? I'm like, guys, I'm in college. No, I cannot go. Right. So that's what led to, on my side, there was a lot of stuff that I had to deal with in terms of the team I was playing on, because we were the number 2 team in the country. Right. So we were, selling out arenas, 10,000 people showing up for the games. It all kind of was coming into this. It all arrived at the same time in 1995, where we're the number 2 team in the country. We're setting the world record for attendance. You got 10,000 people at these games. There were games where I was. This was a crazy story, because right, I decided that I wouldn't leave anymore to do jobs. That I was going to honor my commitment to the university, to myself, and I wanted to be an All-American. That was my dream, that I felt was controllable for me going into sports. You can't always control winning a championship, but I felt like you could control being the best player you could possibly be. And to me, getting that certificate, right, that certification was the kind of the proof of that, right? So that's what I wanted to do. So I stopped. I said, listen, I'm not going to work anymore. Oh, Madonna wants you for a video. I'm not going. Like, okay, they tripled the price. Guys, I love Madonna. I get what you're saying, because in all this too, Stevie is like, hey, so you're going to have dinner with Madonna. Madonna wants to see you on Thursday. We'll start shooting on Saturday. And you're like, ooh, that does sound good, right? Not going to do it, right? So from that, Richard Elm's career gets launched, right? Oh, God, Jason, I don't know. I think you really made a mistake. They found a guy that looks just like you. Even I thought, as my agent's going, even I thought it was you. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, that's good. Me and Richard are friendly to this day when we see each other. Love the guy, But all this starts happening, and so it was kind of interesting in not being available. When you're not available, something becomes like a little bit more sought after in a way. But there was also huge jobs that I had to turn down. The Ralph Lauren gig.
Uh-oh, we lost sound.
Okay, cool. All right, you there?
Yes, your sound went
Okay.
out for a minute. We're back.
Yeah. So, in this odd way, even at the time, I was looking at it like, look, if what I'm doing is opening doors and creating pathways for other people, great. Because I have a very particular path that I'm set to right now. And so in this one particular instance, I did take off for one job. I did take off for one job because I couldn't say no. And what it was Andre Talley, who I had
Ooh.
developed a relationship with and who I would travel around the world with and go to, the shows. There was one season where I traveled with him and went to the Italian and French shows with him and stayed with him and whatnot. We had a great relationship for a while. And he calls and he goes, look, him and Carl Lagerfeld were very close. And he says, Carl wants to shoot you and Naomi for the new Chloe campaign. And I'm like, oh God, okay. And I'm sitting in Hawaii, and then I go, okay, when is it? I go, oh my God, that's right in the middle of my finals. It's like, Jason, this is history, darling. Darling, this is history. You are not saying no. And I go, oh shit. Okay. Where? He goes, where was it? Monte Carlo. I go, Andre, I'm in the middle of my season. This is finals week you're talking about, and you want me to get on a plane and go shoot advertising in Monte Carlo? Darling, you're not saying no. I'm calling your agent now. I'm taking this as a yes. You've been warned. Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Okay. So, sure enough, sometime later, a few weeks later, I'm on a plane from Hawaii to Monte Carlo. Go shoot this thing with Naomi and Carl. Shoot the cover of Das Spiegel while I'm there, which was a story with Stella Tennant, who anyone who knows her story is just incredible story. And I mean, that's of course a whole story. Just that one shoot was a whole story. Get on a plane, fly back, and I arrive 5 minutes into the warm-ups before we're going to play UC Santa Barbara, which is a game for us to get to the national championships, to get to the final, get on the road to get to the Final Four, right? And I'm literally running off the plane because the flight was delayed out of Paris, and I'm running from Honolulu Airport to get to the gym, and the guy in the taxi is going, Jason Olive, what the hell are you doing? You're supposed to be, I thought you were playing right now. I'm like, brother, I'm supposed to be playing right now. You need to get me to the gym. Right? And I'll never forget, Stevie, I'll never forget one of the things where it's like, okay, I'm never leaving college, was when we were shooting at the end of this, Naomi goes, Jason, it's Kate's birthday. Why don't you fly with me on the plane? What she meant, like they had chartered her a private plane, right? Why don't you come with me to her birthday party in London? I'm like, Naomi, I got finals. I got to go back to school. She goes, oh, okay. What are finals? And I went, okay. I'm never leaving school. Oh, it was such great times, such iconic people. Not all of it was for me, or has been for me all the time, but the part of it which is about making images and kind of being blessed with the opportunity to put black male beauty out there on a global scale. Yes, all that. Just grateful for. I'm grateful to my parents. I faked that I did it the right way. The fights that I fought that might have, shortened my career or my other things, right, that have kind of led to a bit of the exit for me from fashion because of enemies I made or whatnot. I would fight every one of those battles over again. Those are actually the moments that I'm most proud of. Now, looking back, and it's funny because one of my agents who was my agent from Boss Models, right, which had at one point 3 or 4 of the top 5 male models in the world, Marcus Shankberg, myself, Mark Vanderloo, and I think Jason Lewis was there as well. We were all at the same agency. Maybe not Jason Lewis. Maybe he's the one that wasn't. But he just called me. He's like, people want to see you again. Will you get back into it? I go, dude, you have my number, right? So that's all happened recently, like in the last 6 months. But Stevie, what I'm saying is that a lot of the stuff that I stood for and fought for, it did not make me the most likable person in the business. And those are actually the moments that I'm most proud about. No, you're not going to use my image or anyone else's image like that. Yes, I'm going to sue you. No, you're not going to keep my money like that. Yes, I'm going to sue you. Like all this kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, I did not care and still do not have a single care in the world for being famous or for being, a quote unquote model or a quote unquote face. I love the art of it. I love the work of it. The reason that I got to work with all these amazing designers was mostly because of the photographers, was mostly because yeah, we want to work with Jason. We know if we work with him, he doesn't give a shit about what it takes to create the image that we have in mind, right? I'd work all night. I had no hours. I had no hang-ups. Really, for me, it was like, you're Picasso. I'm either the paint or the canvas. I don't know which, but let's go. Let's go try to do this. That image that you showed earlier of the Calvin Klein, okay, is a perfect example. That image, like for me, like Calvin Klein, blah blah blah. First of all, I don't even think he owned the sense at that time. I think Samsung owned the license to all the Calvin Klein scents and all that kind of stuff. Is it really Calvin Klein? I don't know, but it was Avedon shooting it, and I would have paid Avedon to work with Avedon, right? That is something that I wanted to do in my life. And I sat with Avedon for about 3 hours talking to Avedon, and to the point he actually even had Dune Arbus there and invited Dune Arbus into the room to have these conversations about photography and all this stuff, because I had looked at every single page of the American West probably 3 or 4 times, right? And he was like shocked. Because when he said, when we were talking about work, he thought I was going to talk about his fashion work. But what I really wanted to ask about was what was behind American West. Because I was in these American Studies classes, and actually a brilliant class there, a guy named Dr. Standard, who was originally from Yale, and also my photography classes. And we were talking about American West. And everybody had a philosophy or a theory about what he was doing, what he wasn't doing. It was a seminal book, for someone to do a book called The American West, and it didn't look like a bunch of Marlboro men, and the myth. It wasn't about the myth that was, let's just say, even just Texas, right? It was he went and shot real people in the underbelly of the American West, right? And so we shot that once, Steve. Here's a perfect example of what I'm saying, how amazing that's the photo you chose. And I'm sure you probably chose it, Calvin Klein or whatever. But we shot that ad originally very similar to how Bruce would do something, right? Probably 10, 15 models. But here's the deal, because, and like I'm saying, you're dealing with licensed goods at this point. There's probably 15, 20 suits in the room, right? This is a worldwide advertising campaign with one of the greatest photographers in the history of the world and private equity money. So that studio, which by then it was, hey, how are you? It was, what is it? Is it Pier 62 in New York? Is that what it is? Pier 52? Pier 60?
Yes.
Pier 62? Okay. It had just been made, right? This was in the very beginning of that pier. Maybe it was like maybe 3 years old. And we're shooting it there. And you could just tell the whole thing is a clusterfuck. Like the energy is shitty. There's it feels like a catalog shoot, except you're looking and yeah, that's Abaddon, but this just feels like shit, right? And so we shoot it. I literally don't think anything of it. I'm like, well, listen, the days leading up for it, working with Abaddon were amazing. Okay. I get a call again. Rick goes, well, you did it again. I'm like, what do I do now? He goes, man, every time you shoot something like this, the whole fashion industry's talking about it. I'm like, okay, dude, what now? You got to shoot it again. I'm like, oh, okay, you got to shoot it again. So what the hell happened? Abaddon's throwing it out. And now my heart sinks because I'm like, oh, I didn't do a great job, right? And he goes, and I go, oh, well, you sure he wants me to be part of it? He goes, no, you're actually the only model that's shooting. I go, you're kidding. He goes, no. And this time there's going to be no suits. You're not to talk about it. Show up at the pier on this day and this time. I show up at the pier. It's the studio next door, which is even bigger studio, the one that you can roll the cars into, okay? Stevie, there's nobody there except Abaddon, his assistant, me, and the stylist. 3 people. And I'm like, okay. And he's got the 8x10 camera. Okay. 8x10 for anybody that knows. Man, that's I don't know. Let's call it a 10-second, and under these situations, a 10-second exposure. Maybe 5, okay? But it is not a click and shoot. It is a click, clunk. Okay, let's pull the film, which is a 10x10 block slide. Pull the slide out. Put another slide in. Okay, hold, be very still. Now, we had this long conversation about American West. Here we are reshooting this thing. The whole idea was kind of, we were still in that kind of heroin chic, a little bit grunginess of fashion, which, of course, Kate Moss had made. So,
oh yeah,
okay. But the problem was that wasn't me. I'm an Olympic caliber athlete who never smokes, never, well, back then, I'm not going to say never drink. When we won, I drank a lot, but not, that's not my lifestyle. Right. And so, what they've done is they put they literally, where you used to go into makeup and getting prettier. No. They actually took mascara and smudged it under my eyes, in my cheeks, to try to give me a little bit more of that, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Unhealthy, but at the time, chic kind of look, right? Druggy kind of just look. So I get the feeling for that, and I go, okay. So I'm going to give you a pose that's going to resonate with you for this look, okay? And I took a pose from Abaddon's book, From the American West. And it's a young street kid. And you could look at American West. As a matter of fact, when I get back home, I think I have that image. I'll see if I can take a screenshot of it and send it to you. And I remembered this pose of this kid and I strike a very similar kind of, mode for Abaddon. And he goes, "Oh my God, that's it." And we probably shoot a half hour of this, right? With these 8x10 cameras. And that is, show me that one. You have that ad again? Because there's basically two. Let me see. Yep, that's it. I'll show it to you. And I'll show you. So, when I talk about creating the imagery and trying to create, something that kind of is pulling from the past, but hopefully speaking to the future a little bit, right? You have to have some knowledge of these things. You have to have some care and some knowledge. People really underestimate, when you're talking about like the great models, like the Naomis, of how much they actually know of the catalog of fashion images.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our very special guest, our next special guest, because I have 4 interviews today. Leon Walker is here also with me, ladies and gentlemen. We are also here with Jason Olive, who is an actor, model, producer, and coach and photographer. But if you don't mind, Jason, I'm going to try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and I'm going to add Leon also.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Stevie, why don't we, if we can do it another time, let's get in and let's do it another time, because this is my reality right now.
Oh.
So I'm out here. I need to watch my little girl. So, but I'd be happy to jump on with you again anytime. I love what you're doing, and I love the spirit you're doing it. And I really, really thank you for having me. And hopefully was able to share some cool stories with the people.
You are so welcome. And just going back in time and history and hearing all of this, you've mentioned Abaddon, but you forgot one of my favorite supermodels, and that is Tyra Banks. I seen a picture with you on Tyra and Beverly Field. We didn't get a chance to talk about
That's the Fabrizio Ferri story. That's the industrial story. So we'll have to talk about that story later. That all goes back to those very first shoots in Industria. That all happened with Fabrizio Ferri. That photo of me and Tyra is actually taken at his home in his pool on the island of Pantelleria. That is the man who created the concept of a super studio. And that is in his pool at his home off the tip of Italy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jason Olive, and now we have Leon Walker here, who is a actor and comedian as well too. I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. This was so unprecedented to book 4 interviews in one day. So I never, I got my work cut out for me today, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Leon, I'm going to let you have your time. I hope to connect with you. Stevie, thank you very much.
Yes, sir, Jason. Good to see you, brother.
All right. God bless you guys. All right. Bye-bye.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much, Jason. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jason Olive, and now we are here with actor, instructor, and comedian, Mr. Green Eyes himself, Leon Walker. Welcome to the Dollhouse, Leon. It is such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me on the Dollhouse, Miss Stevie. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for including me in this thing that you're doing. Appreciate it.
You are so welcome. We just got through with the Christmas holidays. Saturday was Christmas. Tell us a little bit about your holidays. How's your holidays been so far? Did you get everything you asked for?
Yo, this has probably been this is definitely Christmas that I will never forget. I got COVID.
No.
So I have been quarantining in my room with my dog Belsky, just me and Belle. So away from the family, trying not to get anybody else sick. I'm on the downhill. I'm still feeling a little congested, but the hard part was over. Christmas and the day after Christmas was tough. But so it hasn't been an ideal Christmas, but I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I'm still here, still kicking. So. And yeah, I got everything I asked for, I'm with my family. So, in the same house.
That is the most important thing. Yes. So tell us a little bit about how you got your start into acting and comedy as well too.
Yeah, so I started acting when I was 15. Um, I was casted in the movie as a background actor in 10 Things I Hate About You. I don't know if you remember that. This is,
Yep, I remember.
I'm showing my age right now, I'm showing my age, but that movie was shot at my high school, and I was cast as a background actor. And so I was on set the whole movie. I was on set. Met Heath Ledger, Gabrielle Union, Julia Stiles. I met all the actors, and I was like, just I felt like I was one of the actors because they were so cool, and we were talking. And I was like, man, I could do this. I could do this, and that sparked it. Denzel Washington has always been like one of my heroes, and but I never thought I could do what he did. Like I always just idolized him growing up. And after I worked on that project, I was like, I could do this, and that just really gave me the inspiration to, want to act. But I was a college athlete. I played football, so I had a passion to play football. So I didn't start acting until after I was done playing football. I played for West Texas A&M for a couple years, and then moved to Los Angeles, started acting and modeling, and moving to LA and not really knowing anybody, and just kind of jumping in. It's a very confusing place. You don't really know what to do, what classes to take, how to start. I mean, it's most people come here and it's like trial and error for the first 10 years. Like for real, like it's trial and error, failure, failure, failure for the first 10 years. And that really was my journey, a lot of failures. Then I started writing and producing a web series. And then the web series, it was called Play and Wifey. And then a producer bought the web series. We made a pilot starring Tiny Lister. And that was like the first kind of breakthrough that I had that was like, okay, things are starting to make sense. Um, so, along that journey, I found comedy. Um, Around 32, I found comedy. Like right after I produced that pilot, I found stand-up comedy, and literally just right away fell in love with stand-up. So now these are my two loves, my two passions: stand-up comedy and acting and teaching yoga. I also teach yoga. That's also another thing that I love doing. And I found that in a weird way. I hurt my back. As I said, I was a college football player, so I had back injuries, hurt my back. Someone suggested yoga, started doing yoga, found out that yoga is much more than just healing your body. It's also
Yes.
about healing your soul, your spirit, your trauma, your pain, all of the above. And I was like, yo, I gotta dive into this. So I dived into it. I've been practicing yoga for about 8 years, and started teaching 2 years ago. And it's something I do regularly as well.
And it's all about balance. So has your perspective on work-life balance changed over time?
Say that again.
Has your perspective on work-life balance changed over time? Because you've mentioned yoga, and it's definitely a balance, with this pandemic going on and everything. I talk a lot about mental health and just making sure that you stay in that same place and protect your peace. So has your stance on it like evolved over time? Has it changed over time?
Yes, it has. And it's funny because people call me like the exact opposite of David Goggins, because David Goggins is like, work or die, and I'm just like rest until it's time to work, So
Yes.
I'm kind of like the opposite of David Goggins in a way. I mean, I love David Goggins. I follow David Goggins, and I think he's very inspirational. But I'm definitely the type of person who's like, man, get your rest, B. Like, get your rest, And I'm definitely that type of person. I don't put when I first came out here, the first 10, 15 years I was doing this industry, it was just like if I don't get it now, it's all or nothing. all or nothing, all or nothing. No plan B. It's only a plan A, and it's still only a plan A. But my A's have developed into different things, and as we grow, we develop more passions, and we develop more things that we want to bring into our lives, and you learn those things when you give yourself space, and you give yourself space by resting, meditating, grounding yourself. It's really finding out who you are. We're constantly growing and learning about ourselves. You know.
And it's definitely, a process. Even for me, I've suffered with some anxiety over the weekend, and thank God for my friends, K Toots, if you're still here, if you're watching, and everyone has just been checking in on me. So it's definitely a balance of just making sure that you stay calm and in your peace. So yoga is definitely helpful, and just taking deep breaths. I'm all about protecting my energy and making sure that I'm in the right headspace. So, it's nothing wrong with self-reflection.
Yeah, 100%.
And my next question for you is, what have you been doing since the pandemic has been here? Because I know it's been difficult for a lot of us content creators and things like out here to get out here and do the things that we really want to do. I've seen some of you on your work on stage doing the comedy and things. And it's been difficult with all of these guidelines and not being able to interact with your followers and your fans and things like that. So we've seen a lot of people just become so creative during this thing. So how have you been managing thus far?
I'll say this. I had a good run. I got vaccinated right as soon as I could because I wanted to stay in these streets. I wanted to stay on stage. I wanted to keep working. So I got vaccinated. But this COVID ain't no punk. Let me tell you, it's going to change until everybody gets it, is what I'm starting to see. It is going to change, like all these new variants. Um, and I mean, I have been thinking outside the box. I've been doing a lot of outside comedy shows. The good thing about acting is everything is self-tape. So I've been still auditioning. Everything's been self-tape. I have my own little private studio. I've been opening up my little backyard studio. I've been having little shows in my backyard. What I recently started doing with my yoga studio is having laughs after yoga. So last month was our first laughs after yoga at the yoga studio. We did 45 minutes of yoga, and then we did about 45 to an hour minutes of a comedy show. So that was a hit. We're going to do another one on the 21st. 21st? 21st. It's on my social media, but next month, around 22nd, it's going to be on the 22nd. But yeah, so I've been doing that. There's a lot of great places that have open mics and have shows like Third Wheel. The Third Wheel in Hollywood is one of my favorite places to go to. I host there once a week. So, it's just been one of those times where you just got to be thinking outside the box, protect yourself, social distance, mask up. But just gotta think outside the box. That's what I've been doing. I'm not big on the content these days. I definitely need to start doing more content. I do want to build my YouTube page up again. I haven't really. It hasn't really been my focus lately. I do like live entertainment. I do like to connect. I do like to, unless I'm on a movie set or a TV set, it's been a challenge for me to like take my cell phone and make little clips. But it's something that everybody's doing, and it's something that I gotta start adding into my little toolbox, and I plan to as well.
Okay, okay. So if you could collaborate and work with any comedians that come to mind, they have been passed on or still here currently, who would your dream team be? Who would you like to work with in the future? Because we are now going into 2022. This month is just about out, and we're now going into a whole new month, a whole new mindset, a whole new vision. Who would you like to work with in the future?
Kevin Hart has been a big inspiration for me. He kind of embodies everything that I see in a career as a comedian, as an actor, as an artist. He does everything. Not only does he do everything, he puts people on. He doesn't have a, he doesn't live by what a lot of entertainers in this town live by. If I don't have it, I can't let anybody else have it. It's either mine or nobody else's. Like this is a very selfish town. People don't share their secrets or their ways to success very much. People don't really, I don't see a lot of, people that have made it really bringing other people on. And Kevin Hart has done that since he has touched the ground. And that's something that that's who I want to be. I don't, I want to be successful, but I want people around me and new up and coming artists to find success and to find a road through me, because it's like I said, this is a very hard place to find a way. Like there's no roadmap. There's no roadmap. It's just like, okay, you're here, figure it out or don't. Like that's really what it is in Hollywood. So Kevin Hart, I mean, there's a list of comedians that I love. Bill Burr is one of my favorites. David Chappelle, of course. I have a list of people, but when it comes to someone that embodies everything that I want from a career, it's Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is like he's the guy.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about mental health awareness and yoga. How important is protecting your energy and making sure that you're in the right space for you? Because I know it's been difficult, with you being a performer, being on the road and having to do the shows and acting and things like that. It's that separation anxiety of being away from your family. How have you been balancing work life and then, being away from your family?
I meditate. I mean, I'm very. I do a lot when it comes to mental health because I have to. Something I tell my yoga classes all the time. I tell people, I'm as crazy as you are. you know, I I have tools, and I use the tools. You know, and we all have tools, whether we think we do or we don't, or whether we're aware of them or we're not. We all have tools. We all have our breath. We all have our community. Meditation is one of the strongest tools that people are starting to become aware of now. Grounding yourselves, another thing I tell people, you always have an opportunity to take a moment before you react, based on what comes up in your brain. Our brain tells us to react. Our central nervous system, 85% of the time is misleading us. I think that's a lot of why we have these social problems, racism, and because our central nervous system is saying danger when it's like, you're not in danger. It's just a black guy in the grocery store. You're not in danger, but for whatever reason, your brain and your central nervous system is telling you you're in danger, but you always have a moment to ground yourself, to take a breath, to take a moment before you react. And most people don't have awareness of those tools. I do. And I use them. And those are the things that have kept me from not losing it. And let me tell you, I came close these last couple of years to losing it a couple of times. It's been hard. It's been hard on everybody. So I've been just trying to give everybody a little bit more grace during this period of time.
Okay. So speaking of yoga, tell us about your Hot 8 Yoga Sculpt class. Tell us a little bit about how your yoga company and everything came to be, how you formulated it.
So I found Hot 8 Yoga. Hot 8 Yoga has 6 studios throughout LA. I found Hot 8 Yoga 9 years ago. I started practicing the Hot 8 Yoga in Sherman Oaks and just fell in love with just the energy. It's the energy in the studios were just, it was addicting. You know, it's peaceful. The instructors they just filled me up with so many things other than just like practicing the shapes, but it filled me up, filled my spirit up. Healed me in a lot of ways as well. So I continued practicing, and then one day a teacher was like, you'd be a great teacher. You should take a teacher training. And I was just like, nah, I'm not. I'm a football dude. I'm a gym dude. I'm not taking no teacher. I can't teach yoga. Come on, man. But then I was like, you know what? Let me take this teacher training. So I took the teacher training, and the rest is history. I started teaching yoga sculpt. I also teach yin yoga and power yoga. Yoga sculpt is it's a vinyasa flow with weights. So it's kind of more of a workout, not much of the meditation yoga-ish, but Power One is more of a slower breaking down postures, more meditating in that. And yin yoga is a very slow holding postures for 2-3 minutes. It's a very zen, um, practice. So yeah.
Okay, okay. All right. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to take some questions for the audience. We do a game here on the show called the Rapid Five. And Leon has to tell us 5 things that he can't live without. And then in the next segment, it gets a little spicy. Y'all notice my hair is red today for a reason, because it is going to get a little spicy in the next segment I like to call Turn the Tables. And this is
All
where
right.
my guests get to ask me questions uncensored and unfiltered. I didn't get a chance to do it with Jason, but we're going to do it with Leon. So, Leon, you have to tell us 5 things you can't live
5 things I can't live without. My son, my wife. Those are, I think that's one. My family. Let's just say my family.
without.
Dogs. I can't live without dogs. I need a dog. I need a dog. Bell's my new dog right now. I need my dog. That's 3, right? My family,
Yes.
my family, my dog, my art, my art, um, my yoga practice, my practices. I'm grouping all these things. And what else? Marijuana. No, I'm kidding. I can live without weed, but that's 4. What else? What else?
You got one more, and
4.
that's 5.
Did I get 5?
You got one more, and that's 5.
Man, I'm stuck on this 5. I'm trying to say something funny. I can't think of nothing. Showers. Showers are dope. Showers are really nice. I
That
love me
is
a good
5.
I love me a good shower, a good like shower head, like a waterfall, like it hits every area of the body. You go into a rich person's shower and there's like the whole ceiling of the shower. I used to train Sugar Shane Mosley. He had the best shower. Like the whole ceiling of his shower was like water coming down. I would go over to his house just take showers and poops. He had a smart toilet. The toilet talked to you. You ever taken a poop on a smart toilet? It's
I've
fantastic.
seen it. I know what you're talking about.
It's fantastic. I'll tell you, if you haven't taken a poop on a smart toilet, you haven't lived yet. Go take you a poop on a smart toilet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is 5, and the toilet as well. All right, it is time to turn those tables, ladies and gentlemen. My heart is beating so fast. I don't know what Leon is going to ask me. So I'm going to pass the torch on to Leon, and then we're going to take some questions from the audience. We have 2 more interviews. This is 2 down, and we've got 2 more to go. I've never had this happen where I've booked 4 interviews in one day. So They're close to the same time, 3 and 4. So make sure you guys are staying put. But Leon, take it away. Any questions?
Any question? First off, how did you find me? I'm curious to how you found me.
I found you through the recommended actors list because I've interviewed so many actors on my platform. I've had Amen Joseph, I've had Tommy Davidson on the show, and we've got some more amazing guests coming up this year. Um, Barry Buer from Tyler Perry's Bruh is going to be on the show this Wednesday. So make sure you guys tune in for that. But I found you through a recommended list of actors that I follow. They follow me also well. So just thank you all for supporting this platform.
Yes, absolutely. I have a juicy question. I have a juicy question for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
This is gonna get spicy because you said your hair is spicy, so this is gonna be spicy.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna get this one out of the way. What do you think about David Chappelle's last comedy special?
Oh Lord.
I knew it was gonna get spicy. I knew it. See, you sweating already.
Ooh.
I could tell. Yeah. Have you watched the special? Can I ask that?
I've seen the trailer and I've kind of talked about this on my show. I would just say this, and I've talked about this. I don't know if you're familiar with Samson McCormick, who's also a comedian as well too. Um, and he asked me how did I feel about it. I said as a black woman, a woman that is trans experienced, that is black, I was offended by his comments. And I said it's okay to make jokes and make people laugh, but when it comes to the expense of people's lives and people, dying from stigma that is already being put out here about the trans community or the LGBTQ community is dangerous and polarizing. So I would have to say his special is controversial. And I know comedians are supposed to make people laugh, but it's a difference between making people laugh and causing harm and trauma and danger to individuals who are most vulnerable, because we know that the most marginalized is all of us as black people as a general, but the mainly most key or marginalized people are LGBT, black women, and disabled. So make jokes that don't cause harm, but it's a way to do it. If you're going to make a joke about somebody, do it in a way where it's not causing danger or harm to somebody. Because I know for me, and I said this to Samson when we did our interview as well too, I said, for me being trans and a black woman at that, having to walk around the same spaces and occupy the same spaces as cishet black women is even more dangerous for me, because if a guy clocks my teeth, as sexy and beautiful as I am, and I get it all the time from a lot of men, but a guy clocks my teeth, that's it. It's a done deal. So it's dangerous. It's like a be damned if you do, be damned if you don't situation. And I know comedians on the other end are just like, well, damn, we can't make fun of nothing. And we're not saying we don't want you to make fun about anything, but do it in a way where it's not, how can I say it? What's the word that I'm looking for? Pouring more gasoline on the fire and causing even more danger to a certain marginalized group, you know. So yeah, I was looking for a bottle of water to kind of drink. When he asked me about Dave Chappelle, y'all, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to explain it again. But yes, I would say I was offended, but I think Dave Chappelle overall is an amazing comedian. One point he did make is about the baby and how the baby was a white man or something. I can't remember what he said
So
because
you
I've
did.
talked about it on my show. Yeah.
So you did watch the special.
Yeah, I love that. I agree with him 100% on that. But when it came to, like the trans community, the LGBTQ community, it's just like this year alone, 50 trans women have lost their lives. Like, this is not a game. And this is because there are some cis black men out here who, find us attractive and things like this. And they're afraid that we're going to put their tea out there. And that's not the case at all. Just, it's okay to be attractive. It's okay to be attracted to us. But the problem we need people to realize is that, hi, my name is Miss Stevie. I'm a black woman. I'm black just like you. I don't want you going out here making jokes about me that is going to cause danger or harm to me. And cis black men already confirmed what it is. And you've got some cis women that will go along with it and say, oh, that's a man, this, that, and the third. Oh, she looked too good. She fish. Yeah, that's what we get. So it's a little bit deeper than that. So that's what I thought about Dave Chappelle. I opted out, and then I've seen the controversy behind it, and I'm just like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
So
it is a tricky it's a
yeah,
tricky situation. It's controversial. I personally thought um, the way he closed this last special was I did not see I did not see what other people saw because he was speaking about a story about a comedian, a transgender comedian, his
right,
relationship with this transgender comedian. And for me, that was a very powerful story. It literally brought me to tears about this relationship he had with him. You could definitely see that he has some bitterness when it comes to the transgender community because he thinks that the transgender community is against him. So that comes out, but I don't think he's doing it, especially in this special. I didn't feel he was doing it in a malicious way. He was doing it in a way to kind of say, listen, I don't see why you think I'm this way. But another thing that I also talk to people like there's so many people that are so ignorant. There's a large community of cisgender people that are so ignorant, so in the dark that they haven't even opened their eyes to any type of understanding. And David Chappelle, throughout these three specials, in a way, has educated people through his trial and error, through his mistakes, because he has made some mistakes. You know, he went from using the T word. You know, he learned from that. You know, he's made these mistakes, right? And he's literally educated a lot of people that are so in the dark, so, blind or ignorant. And that's also something to be said, in my opinion.
right.
And that's all I have to say about it.
And I'm gonna add on one more thing to that. It's important to educate people, educate those who do not know. Like there's so many comedians out here. Not all of them. Well, Eddie Murphy came back and apologized years for his comments, and then you've got comedians like Tracy Morgan saying, "Oh well, if my son was gay, I would da 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 da, I would beat their ass," and all of this. I'm just like, wait, what? Can children form an opinion of their own to who they choose to like without you having to shove it or beat it down their throat? Because that results into toxic masculinity. Therefore, if your son is punching the wall, me being a female, a woman of trans experience, he's going to be punching me next because of that toxic masculinity that has been put into him. And it's dangerous and it's polarizing. So it's important, like you just said, Leon, and I'm glad we can both agree on that, which is education. And I said this when I did my interview with my co-host Marco on his podcast, which is a powerful interview. I said education and leading with love and acceptance. We have to have an open mind because at the end of the day, we as Black people as a whole, we are the most oppressed. And I already know that if I was to go in a store, let's say, I'm gonna use this as an example because this ties into racial profiling and not only racial profiling, but just racism in general. If I was to go into a luxury fashion store, let's just say Cartier, and I was to purchase something, they probably wouldn't see, oh well, you're not able to purchase this or something, and follow me around the store when I have money to purchase it. And that's just an example. I wouldn't have them purchase a Cartier, but that's just as an example. But we see how the country is. And then if I was to
Yeah,
fall out or have a tantrum like one of these white women out here, we already know what would happen.
yeah,
I would easily be prosecuted for it.
yeah,
So we see how the system treats us as people of color. And I want people straight and gay and in the LGBTQ community to realize that what we're fighting for is bigger than anything in this country, and that is oppression. I need people to realize that. I will
Absolutely
never be
agree.
able to touch the garments of a white woman. I
Okay.
will never be able to touch the garments or threads of a white woman because I'm a black woman. And it's clearly obvious if I had blue eyes and blonde hair, oh honey, I would have been done got away with it.
Yeah.
But I'm melanated, chocolate, body down. So there's no way that I'm going to be able to get away with the crimes that a white woman is able to give away. And a prime example will be Kim Porter. But I want people to realize education is key.
Yeah. I agree. 100%. Do I have more
So I'm
questions?
passionate about things like that. I'm sorry.
No, no. Hey, you should be. I am as well. I am as well. I definitely try to pick my battles these days a little bit more carefully, especially on social media. Um, it seems like everything loves to be taken out of context these days.
Yes.
I don't, I don't post too many of my stand-up clips. You know, people do. One thing I there's so many comedians that people take seriously, but that's not the job of a comedian. You know, for you to take him seriously, the job of the comedian is to make you laugh based on
Yes.
these social constructs that are
Yes.
conflicting and confusing, and in an unserious way, and yeah, it's we live in a weird time where everybody has a platform, everybody has something to say, and yeah, so I try to pick and choose my battles these days a little bit more carefully.
And my thing also to add on to that is you can't get mad when someone else has an opinion. You can be offended by it, but everybody's got to be critiqued at some point in life, and I've realized that over the weekend as well too. Model boy JB, great interview. Leon is such a great soul. Loving your energy as well, Miss Stevie. Thank you so much.
Thanks, bro.
Absolutely,
Appreciate you.
absolutely. So Leon still gets to ask me more questions. We got a little deep there. I
I,
was not
I,
expecting him to go
I
that
like
deep,
it.
but
I like getting deep. I like getting right to it. I like getting right to it because it's something that kind of it's something that's really out there in our faces right now. You know, and people are still trying to find understanding, and our society is rapidly moving so fast, right? So why shouldn't we all move fast? Why are some people
yes.
why are some people choosing to stay slow? Um, but okay, so next question: how did you get into your passion? Like, who inspires you?
I come from a strong line of women and my father as well too. Um, my father's been a very pivotal point in me. He's, taught me to speak up and be bolder because I was bullied a lot in high school. And my mom has always had this, as mom should, have a nurturing spirit to comfort, console, and just continue to keep pushing you to keep going for greatness. So my mom, my grandmother, my aunt Connie, I give a shout outs to her, just the amazing women in my life and my father. Because I do have some very outspoken vocal family members, and I wasn't always that, outspoken when it came to things. So for me to now have my own voice at 28 years old, I mean, it's just amazing. So I give them all the credit.
Beautiful. What are the 5 things you can't live without?
Um, I'm
See,
gonna
it's not that
combine the
easy.
two.
It's not that easy.
The first two I'm gonna say would have to be God and my family. God and my family. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And I'm surprised that I'm still here in the middle of all this craziness with Omicron and I don't know whatever the hell it is and so many different things. So that would be first, God and my family. And number two, uh, what else can I live without? What else can't I live without? I love fashion magazines. I'm a fashion girl, so I'm always flipping through the pages of Vogue and Harper's Bazaar. Number three, I love a good snack. I love pizza. I love pepperoni pizza. That is my weakness. Um, Number four, I love a good perfume. I love a good perfume. The fragrance that I'm wearing today is Scandalous from Victoria's Secret. So,
Hey,
um, I love a good fragrance. Number five, my phone. All of my emails, everything is in my phone. So I would have to say my phone.
I
Those are
really
my five.
tried. I tried not to say my phone. I really tried. Like my phone came up like all five, and I was like, "Don't say your phone." Yeah, these phones are addictive. Man, they're gonna be the death of us. The phones are gonna take over society one day. They're just gonna start walking and talking. They're like, we don't need you humans anymore. These phones just be doing everything.
It's so powerful. Technology has definitely shifted throughout the years. And I said in one of my interviews, next thing you know, they'll probably have the TVs or computers floating in the cars. Well, they've already got the cars being able to drive themselves. So who knows what's going to come in the year 2030 or even before that.
It's about to get crazy. This metaverse, everything is about to get wild. Buckle up. Hold on to your butts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, do we have any questions for Leon or myself? That is the Turn the Table segment, which is pretty good. It's sort of like a icebreaker to my audience as well as the guests getting to know the host is. I also have two other co-hosts, so shout outs to them. One of them was just here, Marco. Shout outs to him, and my other co-host, Johnny. So definitely.
Well, thanks for having me, Stevie. This has been fun. I appreciate you.
You're so welcome. It was such a pleasure. It's been longly awaited, and I'm so glad that you came on the Dollhouse.
Absolutely. Love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You're an inspiration to everybody. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Leon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any last questions before we conclude? Leon, is there anything that you would like to tell anyone that is looking to get into this comedy business? When I did my interview with Jason before you came in, he talked a little bit about the fashion industry. You both have something in common. You both were athletes, and he was saying, this industry in general, from fashion to comedy to music, whatever it is, when it comes to us as Black entertainers as a whole, it's been challenging. So, what advice would you give to someone that is looking to get into comedy?
I would say jump in, get on stage, find an open mic, get used to being on stage, get comfortable being on stage. Now, when I get on stage, it's almost as if I feel more comfortable in my skin than when I'm off stage. Get to that point. Don't worry about your material. Don't think, oh, I gotta write jokes before. No, just get on stage and try to be funny. That's the goal. Um, just jump in. When it comes to comedy, when it comes to acting, I would say find somebody that moves like you want to move and study. And that's with all of art. Never stop being a student. Study the people you want to be like. Study the people that you admire. Study how they move. Study how they talk. Study how they, I'm not saying to copy anybody's style or anything like that. Study how they move. Study how they work, because the art is that much of it. Like
Yeah.
being an actor, being a comic, the material is that much of it. And when I learned that, like, it's a tough thing to understand. Your talent is that much of it. Your actual ability is that much of it. The rest is like the networking, the moving and shaking, the getting in the doors, the agents, the managers, the headshots, the all that has nothing to do with your talent. Absolutely nothing. And that is the majority of being successful artists. It's all the other stuff. So study the people that you want to like the career the people that have the career that you want. Study. Never stop being a student.
Absolutely, 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Leon Walker. Let everyone know where they can follow you and check out your yoga business as well, too.
Yes, at Yoga Leroy got jokes, IG, YouTube. I'm about to really go hard on my YouTube channel in 2022. So please subscribe to at Yoga Leroy got jokes YouTube channel. Um, and that's really it. That's really it. I teach yoga at Hot 8 Yoga. If you're in the Los Angeles area, come check me out. I'm teaching in Beverly Hills almost 5 days a week. Leon Walker, holla at your boy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, 3 p.m., our next special guest is an actor, director, and MMA fighter. So I'm going to try not to break any nails in this next segment. I love you all. See you guys again at 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. And those are our last two interviews. We love you and see you at 4, ladies and gentlemen. Take care. Thank you so much, Leon.
You're welcome. Thank you, Miss Stevie.
You too.